This is the story of a bomber crew so fearless, the US military tried to stop them from flying because they kept breaking the rules and surviving. It starts with a pilot named Jay Zeamer. He wasn't your typical Army Air Force's golden boy. He was too big to fly fighters. His eyesight wasn't good enough to pass the physical, but he wanted it bad enough to try everything, even staring directly into the sun, hoping it would improve his vision. When World War II broke out, standards loosened. Zeamer finally got in not as a fighter pilot, but as a bomber pilot. And he didn't just scrape by, he became the best. He learned to fly the B-17 like a fighter, pulling off combat maneuvers no one thought were possible in a bomber. But when he was assigned to the Pacific, no one wanted to fly with him. The Japanese were dominating the air. US bombers were under-equipped, underprotected, and outgunned. Pilots were dying fast. No one wanted to bet their life on a new guy. So Zeamer volunteered for the worst missions. Recon flights deep into enemy territory alone, unescorted, with no bombs, just fuel and cameras. He worked every position in the bomber: tail gunner, navigator, radio operator. Eventually, he earned enough respect to be given his own crew. And he built that crew from scratch, choosing the ones no one else wanted. The Misfits, the crazy ones. They called themselves the Eager Beavers. Every member was elite in their own right. Joe Sarnoski, the sharpshooting bombardier. Willie, the radio man who once fought off 500 Japanese soldiers with a machine gun and a knife. George Kendrick, who manned both waist guns himself, refusing to share. And a teenage mechanic named Johnny, who could rebuild anything. Together they flew dangerous missions like no one else. One time they were ordered to lead a bombing formation, normally the safest spot. But instead of flying home after dropping their bombs, Zeamer turned the plane around, flew back through the enemy defenses, and used the waist and ball turret guns to strafe anti-aircraft positions. Every plane in the formation made it back safely, and for that, they were almost court-martialed. The brass didn't like that the Eager Beavers made them look bad, so they grounded them, cut them off from good planes. That's when they found a stripped-down, bullet-riddled wreck in the aircraft graveyard. Its name? Lucy. Tail number 2666. From then on, it was known as Old 666. They rebuilt it from scratch, installing new engines, radios, cameras, and 19.50 caliber machine guns. They welded extra gun mounts, drilled new holes in the fuselage, and trained until every man could strip and reassemble a Browning M2 blindfolded. It became the most heavily armed B-17 in the Pacific. One of their final missions would go down in history. The US was planning a massive marine landing at Bougainville, but they needed precise photos of the shoreline reefs, sandbars, enemy positions. Zeamer and his crew were the only ones crazy enough to try. To capture the footage, they had to fly in a perfectly straight line for 22 minutes, in broad daylight, over 600 miles into enemy territory. And as they began the camera run, over 20 Japanese Zeros took off to intercept them. Zeamer had a choice: break formation and try to escape, or keep flying straight and hope the footage would save 40,000 Marines. He stayed the course. The Zeros attacked. One after another, they were shot down by the crew. Joe Sarnoski manned the front guns, killing 2 fighters even after being mortally wounded. Zeamer was hit 2 shrapnel tore through the cockpit, destroying the navigation gear and oxygen system. He lost nearly half his blood, but he kept flying. At one point, unable to steer with the damaged rudders, Zeamer controlled the plane by adjusting engine power manually. More throttle on one side, less on the other to make it turn. He dropped 15,000 feet in 30 seconds so the crew wouldn't suffocate. They fought off dozens of attackers for 45 minutes. Then finally the Japanese fighters ran out of fuel and turned back. Every man survived, barely. Zeamer and Sarnoski were awarded the Medal of Honor, the only B-17 crew to ever receive it during the war. The rest of the crew received the Distinguished Service Cross. Together, they completed the most decorated mission in American air history. And they did it in a plane the military wouldn't even give them. If you were in command, would you let these men fly again? Or ground them for good? Let me know in the comments.